What if one of the most famous women in the world walked into a hospital every year, same day, same hour, without cameras, bodyguards, or any explanation? And what if she never said who she came for? For 12 years, Rihanna visited St. Augustine Medical Center in Los Angeles. Every June 14th, at exactly 3:17 p.m., she'd walk through the side entrance, quiet, alone, and head straight to room 208C. But here's the thing, that room didn't exist anymore. It was turned into a storage room 5 years ago. So why did she still come? No one questioned her. Because, well, it's Rihanna. She'd nod to the nurses, smile faintly, and carry a single item. Sometimes a small bouquet, sometimes a children's book, sometimes just a folded letter. She would enter the old room, close the door, and stay for exactly 42 minutes. Then she'd leave, every year, without fail. And no one, not the press, not her fans, not even her closest team, knew why. Until one nurse, newly hired and a little too curious, asked a question she wasn't supposed to. Who is she visiting in there? The older staff exchanged nervous looks. One of them said quietly, "No one. That room hasn't had a patient in years." But she's there every June 14th, like clockwork. Another replied, "We were told not to ask." But that wasn't enough. The new nurse, her name was Grace, couldn't stop thinking about it. Why would someone like Rihanna return to a hospital every year? To visit no one? So she did what no one else had dared to do. She opened the archives, found the original patient records from room 208C, scrolled through years of files, most of them routine. But then, she found it. One file, locked, marked private, and handwritten in faded pen. D. Stone, June 14th, admitted. June 14th, expired. Just one day. Just one name, no age, no photo, no next of kin, just one sentence at the bottom of the report. Brought in by R. Fenty, stayed until time of death. Grace's heart stopped. R. Fenty equals Robin Rihanna Fenty. She was there the entire time. And whatever happened in that room on June 14th, 12 years ago, changed her forever. But who was D. Stone? And why had Rihanna buried this name so deep that even her fans had never heard it? Grace was about to find out. Grace couldn't sleep that night. She stared at the file again. No birth date, no emergency contact. Just a single entry in bold. Time of death, 4:59 p.m., June 14th. He had died just minutes after Rihanna left the hospital that day. But why did no one know about him? She dug deeper. No funeral record, no obituary, no insurance, no known relatives, just one handwritten note in the margin of the intake form. Patient brought in unconscious, no ID. Fenty insisted on staying, asked for full privacy. Grace leaned back in her chair, heart racing. Why would Rihanna sit for hours next to a stranger? Unless he wasn't a stranger. The name, D. Stone, didn't ring any bells at first. But then Grace looked through social media posts from that year, way before Rihanna's visit to the hospital, and buried in the depths of Reddit threads and old Tumblr posts. She found it. A grainy photo. A guy. About 20. Tall. Quiet smile. Captioned, "Can't believe Daniel got to meet her. She actually came." The comments were full of confusion. Who's Daniel? She really showed up for that random guy. Must be PR. She didn't even post about it. Grace clicked the username, @StoneDigital. A few old posts, mostly tech stuff, coding, music production, and one post that stood out. "Not gonna lie, I used to write to Rihanna's team every year. Told them her music saved my life. Never expected a reply. Guess hope's all you have when you're dying." The post was dated 2 weeks before the hospital visit. And the last comment? Posted by Daniel himself. If this is goodbye, at least I got to say thank you. That's when it hit her. He knew. Daniel Stone knew he was dying. And Rihanna? She came. She didn't tweet it. She didn't film it. She just showed up and stayed until the very end. But that still didn't explain everything. Why did she keep coming back every single year to the same room? To sit in silence? To grieve a boy no one ever really knew? Grace felt the pull of something deeper, something unfinished, and she wasn't the only one who noticed. Because the next morning, Grace found a folded note on her desk. No name, just her name handwritten on the front. Inside, "Stop looking. This story doesn't belong to you." She looked around. No one watching, no cameras, but someone knew she had seen the file, and someone didn't want her asking questions. Grace sat alone in this break room, holding the note. "Stop looking. This story doesn't belong to you." But the problem was, she couldn't stop. She kept thinking about Daniel, a boy with no family, no fame, just a dying wish, and a letter to someone he never thought would answer. But Rihanna had answered, and kept answering, year after year. Grace went back into the archives, offline this time. No digital footprints. She found an old intake form, dated 1 year before Daniel died. It listed a psychiatric evaluation, brief but chilling. Patient reports recurring dreams of drowning in silence. Feels invisible. Mentions only comfort comes from music, particularly one artist, Rihanna. It was signed by a volunteer counselor. Under remarks, says he mails letters but never expects a reply. Talks about her like a lifeline. Grace's chest tightened. Daniel wasn't just a fan. He was clinging to something. Someone. And Rihanna? She must have known what that meant, but Grace still didn't understand. Why return after he was gone? There had to be more. So she made one last move. She called a journalist friend, someone with connections. She just asked one thing. "Do you know anyone named Daniel Stone?" He went quiet, then whispered, "You shouldn't be asking about that name." "What? Why?" "I've only heard it once, a while ago, buried in a leaked list of NDAs tied to a celebrity confidentiality case." "NDAs? What kind?" "The kind that says, if you break it, you don't just lose money, you lose everything." Then the call ended. Now Grace was scared. Why would a dying boy need to be part of a confidentiality agreement? Why would a global celebrity tie legal silence to a hospital room? And what if Daniel wasn't just a stranger? What if there was a secret that connected them? Not fan to idol, but something much deeper? Then Grace remembered something. Back in the Reddit archive, Daniel's handle, @StoneDigital. She checked again and found one last post. No text, just an image. A Polaroid, faded. 2 people sitting on a rooftop. One of them, clearly Daniel. The other, a girl, barely older than him, face in shadow, but unmistakable. The cheekbones, the eyes. It was Rihanna. The date on the photo? 2005, long before fame, long before charts and makeup empires. Back when Rihanna was just Robin from Barbados, figuring out who she was. So how did she know Daniel? Grace couldn't answer that, but someone else could. Because the next day, June 14th, Rihanna showed up again. Same hour, same sunglasses. Only this time, she didn't bring flowers. She brought a letter. She walked past the front desk, paused, and looked directly at Grace. No smile, no words, just a long, quiet stare. Then she placed the letter on the counter, turned, and left. Grace picked it up. There was no name on the front, no address. Just one word written in perfect, slanted cursive: enough. Inside was the truth. Grace opened the envelope with trembling hands. No return address, no official letterhead, just 4 pages of lined paper, handwritten in blue ink. The first line stopped her cold. If you're reading this, it means I failed at staying invisible. The letter was from Rihanna, and what she revealed changed everything. His name was Daniel Stone. I met him before the world knew me, back when I was just Robin, trying to survive in New York with a demo tape and 3 roommates. Daniel was one of them. We shared food, music, silence. He taught me how to use my first recording app. I taught him how to sing in key. We never dated, but he was the first person who made me feel like I mattered before the spotlight. When I got signed, I left. I didn't call. I didn't write. I ran toward the future and left the past behind. Grace kept reading, every word heavier than the last. Years later, in a pile of unopened fan mail, I saw his name. He didn't ask for help. He didn't ask for attention. He just wrote, "I think I'm dying. I don't want anything from you. I just wanted you to know you mattered to me, back when no one else did." I dropped everything. I flew to LA and I sat with him. He was barely conscious, but when I walked in, he whispered, "You came." We didn't need to say anything else. Grace felt her throat tighten, because now she understood why Rihanna kept coming back, why she sat in that empty room every year, why she never spoke of it. Because Daniel wasn't just a fan. He was a part of her origin story, one she never wanted fame to corrupt. And every June 14th was the day she said goodbye again, privately, silently, without hashtags or headlines. "This grief is mine," Rihanna wrote, "and I come back here not to mourn a stranger, but to remember the version of myself who needed him. We both saved each other. He just did it quieter. Please let him stay quiet. He never asked to be part of my legacy. He just didn't want to be forgotten. Thank you for seeing the parts of this story no one was supposed to find. R." Grace folded the letter slowly, tears rolling down her face. She never spoke of it again. And that room, 208C, it stayed locked, undisturbed. But every June 14th, the door was unlocked, the lights turned on, and a chair was placed in the center of the room, for her, and only her. 2 years later, St. Augustine's Medical Center created a small garden behind the building. No plaque, no name, just a bench, a tree, and a single stone set in the soil that read, "You mattered." And every June 14th, someone quietly leaves a single white rose on the bench. No one sees her come, no one sees her leave, but the flower is always there, and so is the silence, the kind of silence that holds more love than a million loud goodbyes. And if this story touched something deep inside you, like the video comment below. Have you ever been someone's Daniel? And subscribe to Eros Stories for more tales that speak in silence. Because some stories don't need to go viral, they just need to be remembered.